Time to get your fix.
Come on down, get your horrible gaming review. 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 Wow.
Hello, my name is Zachariah Van Sliders with Old Man Gaming. Welcome to another horrible game review. Before we get into it, a few disclaimers as usual. Number one, the word horrible in the title of this content does not necessarily refer to the game or DLC I am reviewing, but much more the content itself. I do snap judgment reviews here. I get about 5 to 10 hours with the game or DLC that I am reviewing, and I'm just trying to give you a good idea whether you're going to like it right off the bat or not. That, coupled with the fact that I believe video games are one of the most subjective forms of art, I do not give scored reviews, but much more I will be telling you what the overview of this game is, then I'll tell you the pros and the cons of the game, in my point of view, as all reviews are, and then I will tell you whether I personally will be sticking with the game outside the purposes of this review or not. One final disclaimer, of course, is that my voice is still kind of off with this unbeatable cold/flu/inflection/COVID that I seem to be fighting for the last month of my life. So I apologize for the voice and any sniffles or snogs you might hear. Now, let us get on with it. Sonic Frontiers. The fabled chosen one from Sega. The 3D Sonic to change all 3D Sonics. Did it do it? Did it pull it off? Well, before we get there, let's talk about what Sonic Frontiers is. It is a 3D Sonic, and it is the first ever foray for Sonic into the open world genre. And if you're thinking Sonic's pretty weird to end up in this kind of genre, well, let me just tell you this game is pretty weird to match it. So, it's very hard for me to explain what this plot is. I mean, within the first 5 minutes, you see Robotnik, he's pulled into another universe, then Sonic and his friends are pulled into another universe, then his friends are kind of limbo-y, you have to talk to them, but they're kind of in this weird purgatory limbo state. But the basic premise of this is you're in a section that is an island. All 7 Chaos Emeralds are here, and there is a big Titan that's stopping you from proceeding in the game. You then have to explore the island, which is littered with ramps and walls you can run on, and springboards, and all the fun Sonic stuff. Collect rings. You collect icons for whatever little friend is occupying that island, such as Amy Rose is the first island and Knuckles is the second. And then you collect icons for them. You collect vault keys to open these kind of big throne-like structures, which allow you to go into something called cyberspace, which is basically like remixed old Sonic levels that allow you to get a lot of vault keys at one time. Or you also can get fishing with this, because every open world game needs fishing, and this fishing is just as weird as you would expect from a Sonic game. While you do that, there's just tons of weirdness going on. There is these weird sentient little rock people that don't seem to be actually alive anymore, but you're helping them move on, which doesn't make any sense. There is this bad guy, you think, named Sage, who has not even remotely explained what's going on or why she's against you, and you have these weird moments where you're just having a conversation with her like she's the bad guy, but then there's other moments where she's trying to kill you actively, so it's very confusing. So the plot is very hard to understand, but you need to collect all 7 emeralds to fight the big Titan, to become Supersonic, to fight the big Titan, to get off the island, to move to the next island, to get the next friend, so on and so forth. The icons for the friends that you collect, the more you collect, allow you to do side quests for them, which can get you also emeralds. It allows you to learn more about the situation that's going on. It gives you good flavory text. Basically, every so many you get a cutscene. I was surprised by the voice acting in this game. We'll get into that later in the pros and cons. But there is voice acting in this game, plenty of it. In addition to this, Sonic is kitted out with a battery of melee combat maneuvers that you can do in combat. which makes combat, they're definitely going for a Devil May Cry feel to it, but like a kid version of it. I don't know if they quite reach that level, but it definitely feels really fun and interesting and different. And again, we're going to get into that in the pros and the cons, especially the separation between the IGN review, which I'm going to do a lot of comparing to. Without further ado, I mean, that's the game. That's the game in a nutshell. You also do these challenges around the map that unlock more of the map, which is kind of useless anyway, because the map is pretty useless. We'll get into that. But there's all sorts of stuff to do on each island. There's a ton of exploration to do, a ton of things to do before moving on to each island. So let's get that out of the way. Let's get into the pros and cons, because I've got a lot to say here. So pros. First of all, I want to just point out some things that IGN said about this game. They said their biggest issues with this game was that the combat was repetitive and very simple and button mashy, and in a lot of ways dragged down the game. They also said the mid-bosses weren't fun in any way, shape, or form, and the main bosses, the Titans, were the only thing that was really fun in the combat aspect of things. I disagree with them wholeheartedly. Look, this is a kid's game. It's always been a kid's game, and as much as us 40-year-old Sonic fans want it to be deep and rewarding, and this is pretty deep and rewarding, it still has to be made for kids to be able to play it, and that's what this is. That's what it's borderlining. That being said, I think that I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very interesting. It's a very new take on Sonic's combat. The button mashiness is there. I'm not going to say it's not, but there is also some finite strategies to it, especially the certain enemies you meet. The one thing I liked about this, which IGN just glazed over or did not agree with me, is the enemy typing and the mechanics of the enemies you fight are absolutely second to none in a Sonic game. I'm absolutely thrilled with them. There's a boss that I'm going to try and show in the actual footage here that you would get encased in a ring, and you'd have to bounce off the walls of the ring in a certain way to push the boss into the electrified parts of the ring so that you could hit him. There's another boss that I absolutely worshipped called the Squid, and these are mini bosses, not even big bosses, where it's just constantly flying around, kind of giving you that Breath of the Wild feel to it, like the dragons. You could tell there was a lot of, hey, this is kind of like Sonic Breath of the Wild, even though it's very much not a Breath of the Wild game. But it would just be flying around. If you pace it, you can find a couple points where it flies under a bridge. You can jump down onto this energy tail that it has, and then it turns into this cool mini fight where you have to run up the energy tail while it's spiraling and corkscrewing through the air and shooting guns at you, and get to it to hit it to actually fight it. Absolutely cool. There's another boss that might be showed here, I'm not sure, where you have to like do rails in a certain way to be able to fight it. Every bad guy in this game seemed to have a different mechanic to it. Even the ones that were button mashy, you're trying to do something different here. And that should be truly respected. And that's why I'm giving combat a pro. I think it's great. I think this is the most in-depth Sonic combat you've ever seen. There has not been a game that really has surmounted more than Sonic throws his whole body at the guy at speed and damages him. There's way more to it than this. And even when they fail, there's something new and exciting about it that really enticed me, and I enjoyed that. This is not more evident than another pro, and I'm going to give this as a second full pro by itself. I'm going to tell you right now, I don't want to spoil it for you. I haven't put any of it in here, but when you become Supersonic to fight your first Titan, it is the coolest shit in the world, and it excites me wholeheartedly that I get to do that at least like 3 or 4 more times, collecting those emeralds and having that fight, because that was something that worried me when I saw that was how the mechanic of the islands were going to work, that like you keep becoming Supersonic. I loved it. I absolutely love that it's not just a final set piece of this game, but they actually built it in as a mechanic of how Sonic operates and how he deals with the foes that he has to take on. My next pro has got to be the music. The music is phenomenal as usual. Jen Senaway is in his absolute glory here. The supersonic fight music is amazing. A lot of the fight musics are amazing, but what's really cool about this is it does have a very Breath of the Wild-y feel musically, as in the music will build out of whatever it is to a fight and then kind of calm down to something else, and I really enjoyed that here. It was something that I really appreciated. I always appreciate Sonic musics. They always have great musics, but this one is phenomenal. My third con right now is a tentative con. I'm sorry, pro. Blech. My third pro right now is a tentative pro. I'm sorry, fourth pro. Because really, I don't know how good it is till I see the end, but I really am enjoying the plot and the writing so far. They've hooked me. They've really hooked me. They've put a ton of questions out there. It's up to them to answer it by the end. Obviously, I've only got about 5.5 hours into this game, so I can't answer it yet. But just the new character Sage, what's going on with Robotnik, what's going on with the animals, they pulled me in, especially what's going on with the little stone cocoa things that you're running around talking to. I'm just very interested. I want to find out what's happening. I want to find out what's going on. I'm not usually like that on the Sonic. Sonic games are usually pretty straightforward for me. Whereas this one, actually, I'm kind of really enjoying the writing. Which brings me to Pro 5. Voice acting's phenomenal in this. I know, I'm surprised. I mean, don't get me wrong. There are definitely some corny dialogue choices in this. Some weird dialogue choices that would come along with a Sonic game. But honestly, the first friend you have to start talking to on the island is Amy Rose. I absolutely dreaded it. Amy Rose, I hate Amy Rose. I think the character is poorly written throughout the entire series so far. She's just annoying. She sets both women and hedgehogs back years. However, this is the first time I've ever been like, wow, I actually like Amy Rose in this. She's actually adding something to the plot. She's actually bringing something to the character, bringing something to the storyline. Her relationship with Sonic actually has like weight this time around, instead of just this like sycophant fan who chases him around. Like a walking thirst trap, but that's not the way it is here. And this is the first time I was like eager to get to the next Amy Rose scene. I think that the voice acting for Sonic is phenomenal. I am very excited to see where the plot goes. I'm going to give one final pro before I move to the cons, and trust me, I know I've been very positive so far. There are cons. This is still a Sonic game, but the open worldness of this game. The open worldness is phenomenal. This is the way Sonic should be presented. I absolutely love it. Just running around in the field. And they did something really cool here, and it looked kind of stupid to me in the trailer, I'm not going to lie, with all the grindy rails and stuff. It's very Breath of the Wild-y in you see something, it's like, what am I supposed to do with this? How do I get to this? How do I get to the top of this? And you're always rewarded for your efforts. I love just bouncing around the map, finding new locations, finding new rails to grind on, finding new little trinkets to collect and grab. They really decided to take one of the best aspects of Breath of the Wild, which is the exploration, and bring it to the forefront of this game. You are always rewarded for exploration. Just running around the map, you're always going to find something to get into. And I really enjoy that about this game. I really love that. The other thing that's awesome about this is, while, and this is one way that I think it's actually superior to Breath of the Wild. I know, I'm about to say that. But with Sonic, with the way this game is tailored, everything you do gets you closer to your goal. You're always making progress, whether you're wandering in a field, whether you're fighting an enemy, you're getting vault keys, you're getting gears to unlock cyberspace, you're collecting memory tokens to wake your friends up. Everything you do is making progress. There are so many times in Link where I would find a camp, I'd fight through the camp only to get a weapon that's going to break 3 seconds later, or food items that I don't need. With this, everything you collect, everything you find helps you get further in the game. It's absolutely awesome. You are rewarded for doing anything and everything you're doing in this game. You're rewarded for it, period. That is really cool. There's always a sense of perpetual forward motion, and that goes right with Sonic, and I love that. Alright. We gotta get into the cons, right? Gotta get into this. This is still a Sonic game. Let's, again, go to the comparison. Let's go to IGN's biggest con. Sorry about that, everybody. Biggest con, which was easily the dropout. The drop-in, drop-out. Meaning that Sonic moves too fast for the game to perpetually make something. So, this is a really weird one, because I was ready to say to everybody that this is not that bad. I had played 4 hours of Sonic in handheld mode on Switch, and I had noticed some dropout in the very distance, but nothing that would have impeded my play, nothing that would, like, really break me out of the game. And then I played my last hour on the TV with the Switch docked. And I have never had this experience, but it actually works better in handheld mode. The dropout is way worse on the TV version of Switch. And all of a sudden, and everything captured, because I can't capture in handheld mode, everything captured that you're going to see here was captured on the docked Switch in that last hour. So, that being said, you're going to see probably some of that drop in as well. And I'm kind of surprised to say it is still there. It is still a factor. But I'm completely weirded out that this game works better in handheld mode than docked. I would expect it to put much more limits on the handheld mode, but for whatever reason, I barely noticed the dropout. I only noticed it when I was really looking for it, whereas when I docked it and I put it in the TV, it was very evident. So it's there. I don't think it detracts from the game enough to keep you from playing. I have not once been killed or hurt or missed something because of drop-in. Not once. So, that being said, I'm not saying it won't happen, but to go into the technical issue con, there have been a couple of small moments where I've gotten stuck on a wall for longer than I should. Sonic kind of moves in a weird way, stuff like that. Little buggy, glitchy things. I am assuming a lot of this stuff is going to get patched out in the coming days. I believe that Sonic Frontiers has done good enough that it's going to warrant some DLC and some definite love, tender love and care. So I don't think that this is as big a problem as IGN made it out to be still, but I have to say I did notice it much more in that last hour. My next con, my biggest con. This is my personal biggest con. And I can't believe IGN barely mentioned this. It is so easy to run off the map. It's so easy. Every place you're in is an island. So eventually there's a wall to the island and you're just running and then wow, you're off the cliff. And then whoever did the island design level-wise, whoever's green-lit them putting rails out over the edge, I want to find them and I want to slap them in the face repeatedly because it is so easy to miss a rail jump and fall off. Hell, it's easy to think you can jump to the rail that's dangling out over the cliff and realize you can't jump to it. You have to hit some springboard that you didn't see and just jump off the cliff. That stuff drives me nuts. That is my biggest con, is when I'm just running around and then all of a sudden I'm dead or off the map. Found that very irritating, really irritating. My next biggest con, and this one was an IGN con, I think this is a pretty big con personally. The map is gobbledygook. So, as you unlock these challenges, more of the map becomes apparent with all these icons that are supposed to tell you things you can do and say. They are just random weird icons all over the place. There are only a few, like there's a big giant diamond shape, that's the emerald. Okay, very clearly that's where an emerald is. And then there's a big head for like your friend. But other than that, there's all these crazy ass like hearts and seeds and stuff just all over the map, and nothing really highlights when you move your cursor onto it. Like, you can move your cursor onto it and mark it. It doesn't really tell you what it is. So it takes a very long time to get used to what these icons are, where you are in relation. Plus, the map itself does not really properly convey hindrances, especially on the second island I've found. You're moving through canyons a lot where you can't run up to the top of the mountain. So it'll be like, oh, it's a straight line to here, and then it's not, and you don't know how to get to it. The navigation in this game is terrible, and I think this comes from a team that's never really done open world, doing something they've never done before. And honestly, I think they did a pretty good job start off, but I think this is the spot that they need some work on. Alright, so that brings us to whether or not I'm going to stick with it. Yes, I am. I'm going to play this game to its completion. This game has reinstilled my faith in Sonic, and it's sad that it's taken so many years and so many tries for us to get a good 3D Sonic, to the point where even if this game was just halfway decent, we would have been happy for it. But this game is good. It is above average. There are definitely some issues, definitely some things that would hinder it in the long run, I think. It's not going to be a Game of the Year contender, I don't think, but it is good, and it's Sonic, and it makes you feel Sonic again. It definitely spoke to the child in me while also enticing the adult part of me. And I love games like that just touch my nostalgia while also giving me something new to play with. This is a very... The design of this game is genius in a lot of ways, because it's a lot of ways of, I'm going to take everything people love, but I'm going to put it into new packaging and give them something new as an experience, so that it checks all those boxes. Look, again, it's not a Game of the Year. It is not the best performance ever. There are tons of quality of life things that I don't feel like mentioning here because just waste both of our times. That being said, it's good. It's fun to play. It's fun to run around. And that's what Sonic is. The story seems decent so far. It's definitely got me hooked, so I'm definitely going to play it. I'm definitely going to finish it. So I got to say, man, bravo to Sonic Team. They finally got it right. Please keep handing us stuff like this. I really enjoy this, and I hope that this is the first leap for future 3D Sonic games going forward. This is what I have been wanting for a long time. A AAA 3D Sonic game that is a contender. Is it going to win the awards? No, but it's going to go 15 rounds, and I appreciate that. That's it. I hope this helped you guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Sorry it went a little long, but this is one that has been highly contested and talked about on this station, so I had to really get into it. You can tell me if I'm right or wrong in the comments below. You can also talk to me on Facebook at OldManGamingDH, on Twitter at OldManGaming9. You can join my Discord. The link is in the Discord. Is in the description below. And you can influence us in all of our shows there. I do requests for reviews as long as I can get my hands on the game. Until then, you guys keep watching, listening, I'll keep making them. See you guys.